Hey everyone, and welcome to the No DQ live recap of AEW Dynamite as well as WWE NXT for March 11th, 2020, 3/11, 3/3/11. So we started off AEW Dynamite with a recap of last week's show with the inner circle power bombing Jon Moxley off the stage through a table. This week, we kicked off the broadcast with Adam Page being interviewed by Tony Schiavone backstage about his mystery tag team partner for the main event. The Young Bucks were there and they wanted to know why they were there. Page said that they were not there to be his tag team partner because he would not team up with either of them if they were the last people on earth. And he finished his promo by saying that his tag team partner, well, is a mystery. We went straight to our opening match, which was Ortiz one-on-one with Cody Rhodes. During the early moments of the match, we had Lance Archer, along with Jake the Snake Roberts, come out to the ringside area and take a seat in the front row. There you have it, folks. Lance Archer is the client for Jake the Snake Roberts. In my opinion, this was a bit anticlimactic. I was hoping we would get maybe some more build for this and maybe a more epic reveal, I should say, rather than just have Lance Archer show up out of nowhere randomly in the crowd with Jake Roberts. So, I think it's a good pairing, but I was hoping they would have done something different than what they did, I guess. Anyways, Arn Anderson and Santana, they were out there at ringside. They were having a face-off. Cody did a suicide dive to Santana, and then as this big brawl was going on the outside, Lance Archer acted like he wanted to jump over the rail and go after Cody, but Jake had to talk him out of it, and the two of them ended up leaving the ringside area. Cody then got Ortiz back in the ring and picked up the victory with the figure 4 leg lock. After the match, Cody was jumped by Santana, and then Matt Jackson along with Kenny Omega came out to make the save. And then we had Chris Jericho backstage cutting a promo saying that he's going to beat the hell out of the little pumpkin-headed dipshits, the Elite. And he asked them, "Where's Nick Jackson?" Jericho then revealed where Nick Jackson was. He was laid out on the floor with one of those arena doors, those doors that rise up and down, pretty much pinning him down to the floor. And Jericho said he would see the Elite in 2 weeks, which of course is the upcoming Blood and Guts War Games style cage match. We later saw Cody Rhodes and Nick Jackson taken out of there in an ambulance. Cody was there, I guess, to be there for moral support. By the way, guys, I will be addressing the whole coronavirus situation. That is some pretty big news. I'm sure you've heard about it by now, and there's a lot of talk about what's going to happen with WrestleMania. So stay tuned. I will be giving my thoughts on that in just a few minutes. Next up on AEW Dynamite, we had Chris Statlander and Hikaru Shida versus B. Priestley and Nyla Rose. Crowd, of course, very much into Shida, as they have been for the past couple of months since she's been active on Dynamite. Shida was on the verge of pinning Nyla, but then Nyla came back, hit a spear, and then a beast bomb, scored the 1-2-3 to defeat Shida in this tag team match. And then after the match, Priestley attacked her own tag team partner, Rose, held up the championship, and then threw it down at Nyla. So I guess now Bea Priestley is going to be the next challenger for Nyla Rose. It's still unfortunate that the women's division doesn't really feel that significant in AEW. And I'm hoping at some point they'll be able to pick up some more talent and build a couple of stars, because right now it just doesn't feel like it's anything close to must-see television. I would say with NXT and AEW, both shows are overall great, but I feel like with the women's division, NXT definitely has the upper hand. We had a recap of the Daniels and Dark Order storyline. Daniels then did a parody commercial of the Dark Order, basically mocking their commercials that were trying to recruit people. And the theme of this was "Screw the Dark Order." Daniels said that there's no Exalted One, and he's so sure of that he is challenging Evil Uno and Stu What's-His-Name to singles matches. And he said they could do it anywhere they want, and all they have to do is just show up, and he'll prove that there's no Exalted One. And he finished the promo by saying the Dark Order sucks. Now, AEW had a graphic later on that next week we are apparently going to find out who the Exalted One is. Next week's Dynamite is in Rochester, New York, the hometown of former WWE star Brody Lee. And of course, there's been all the rumors about Matt Hardy, all the teases. Looks like next week we're going to have something. So we'll wait and see. One more week of hype. We'll see if AEW can deliver big time with it. We had a Tony Schiavone interview on the stage, once again with Britt Baker. She ripped on Utah, which was the state that hosted this week's edition of AEW Dynamite. She ripped on the fans for having really poor oral health. She was nice and brought Tony Schiavone a coffee to drink. And she talked about being the people's role model. Big Swole appeared and confronted Britt, talking about how Britt runs her mouth, and Britt started hiding behind Tony Schiavone. Britt then came back and said that the only person relevant in Big Swole's family is her boyfriend. Swole responded by correcting Britt, saying that she is married, baby. Britt got offended by this, and she took the coffee that she gave Tony and threw it into the face of Swole. Interesting segment here with references to Big Swole's husband, Cedric Alexander, and of course, Britt Baker's boyfriend, Adam Cole, baby. Next up, we had Private Party and Joey Janela teaming up against the Death Triangle, Pac along with the Lucha Brothers. First time we're seeing this new faction in action. Private Party had a pretty good showing here. Couple of near falls for the good guys. Janela did the flying elbow, but Lucha Brothers got into the ring, and the three of them managed to work together, and then Pac hit the Black Arrow to pin Janela. After the match, these guys did something really cool. They got their three fallen opponents in the center of the ring, and the three heels did a triple submission to the three good guys. So they did a death triangle submission with all three guys, a death submission. Really good stuff here. I like it. And finally, we had the Best Friends and Orange Cassidy come out to make the save, and they announced next week it'll be the Death Triangle versus Best Friends should be an interesting match next week. We had a backstage promo with Dustin Rhodes. He talked about how he's tired of the Inner Circle. He's going to step up to them. And then he insisted that he is going to be Adam Page's partner, whether Page likes it or not. And the two of them are going to go out there and do some cowboy shit. I like the promo from Dustin, but to me, again, AEW is teasing up a mystery partner, and people are thinking it might be Matt Hardy or Brody Lee, or before the beginning of the show, maybe Lance Archer, and instead it's just Dustin. So AEW's got to be careful with their teases. You know, if they keep doing teases and then we're not getting something unexpected, and I guess Matt Hardy would not be unexpected, but just something significant. I mean, Dustin is great and all, but I don't know. I think AEW should be a little bit careful with these mystery partners and that sort of thing. They really got to deliver something big with the Exalted One. I mean, they've been really hyping this up. Hopefully they do something big with that on next week's show. Psycho Jet Black with a $2 super chat. Thank you for that, Psycho Jet Black. He says, do you want another singles or trios title for AEW? I've been saying for a while I would love to see a trios title in either WWE or AEW, just because we haven't seen a trios championship in either brand. WWE hasn't done it, so it would be fresh for them. And I know people want to see a TV title or something like that, but I just want to see something different. A TV title is nice and all, but I want something unique. And I know a trios championship is not unique in professional wrestling, but for American wrestling, WWE, AEW, it would be something different. We had a sit-down interview with Jon Moxley. Moxley has not been cleared by the doctors. Jim Ross was asking him about the beatdown, and Moxley admitted that Jake Hager hit him harder than anybody else has in his career. Moxley giving some props to Jake Hager. However, with that being said, he is not going to miss the Blood and Guts edition of Dynamite in 2 weeks. We had our main event of the evening, which was Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara against Adam Page and Dustin Rhodes. Good guys won. Canadian Destroyer from Dustin, and then the Buckshot Lariat from Page to pin Sammy. Hey, Canadian Destroyer was actually part of the finish for once. It seems like every week a Canadian Destroyer is a near fall, but this week it actually resulted in a finish to a match. So there you go. After the match, we had total chaos. Inner Circle immediately jumped the good guys. Kenny Omega made the save, but he ended up getting hit with the Judas effect. Cody then ran back from the hospital. Remember, he went to the hospital with Nick Jackson earlier in the show. Inner Circle managed to once again get the upper hand. They were going to do a repeat of last week on the stage with a powerbomb, but then Matt Jackson came out to make the save, and then Matt flipped off Adam Page, just like Page did to him, and then out of nowhere, Chris Jericho came in with a steel chair to the head of Matt Jackson. So we got a chair shot to the head on this show. And then Page got laid out again, and the Inner Circle posed together, triumphant over the Elite to set up the upcoming Blood and Guts event in 2 weeks. That was AEW Dynamite. It was a fine show. To me, this was probably the most filler that we've seen on an AEW show. It just didn't feel like a major event. We really didn't have that great match like the Iron Man match or the cage match or a big surprise like Jake Roberts coming out last week. So this week felt a little bit flatter to me than the previous shows. As for the letter grade, I'm giving it a B-. I still think it was a good show overall, but I mean, this was probably the closest thing to a Dynamite where if you skipped it, you didn't miss too much. There were some interesting things that happened, but to me, this wasn't like a must-see Dynamite. So B- is my letter grade. Midnight Black reacts with a B-. Curtis Butler with a B. Daniel gives it a B. And Ben A. Goat says a C. I think my mind was on other things. That's the other thing, too. It felt like this week it was hard to focus on AEW, and I'll get to that more here in a second. Ryan gives it a C. CC Drink with a B-, and Shaddy Snake with an A. Tic Tat Tat with a B-, and Mike B with a B-. Christopher Mace also with a B-. Tom McCarthy with the $2 super chat says, hashtag Coronamania is running wild. Yeah, it's definitely making an impact in the world right now, that's for sure. And I will talk about that more here in a few minutes. So the whole coronavirus thing has definitely been a distraction, and there's been some more developments that came out during this episode of Dynamite. Again, I'll talk about that more in a few minutes. And I have to say, this week was the first time in a while where I found myself more interested in seeing what was going on with NXT than AEW. Usually it's the opposite. Usually I'm focused on AEW, and every once in a while something on NXT catches my eye. But this week I felt like NXT was a more interesting show overall. And I'll get to that here in just a second. Psycho Jet Black with the $2 super chat. Thank you. Thank you. Let me try that again. Thank you for that again. He says, will EC3 win the WWE Championship this year? Yeah. EC3 is going to win the WWE title. Maybe he'll win it inside an empty arena. You know, if worse comes to worse, EC3 going for the WWE title in an empty arena match. Anything's possible, right? All right, so let's talk about NXT. We kicked off NXT with a recap from last week. This week's NXT was at the Performance Center. I guess Full Sail University had a prior commitment, and NXT was moved to the Performance Center for this 1 week, which, if it wasn't for the big sign that said Performance Center, I mean, it looked very close to the NXT arena at Full Sail. They had the bleachers set up, and it had a very similar vibe. We had our opening match, which was Keith Lee defending the North American Championship against Cameron, don't call him Frank, Grimes. Decent match here. Keith Lee picked up the win with the pounce, followed by his jackhammer. And then after the match, he was attacked by Damian Priest, who had a baton. He beat him with it. Dominik Dijakovic came out to make the save. And in an interesting moment here, Keith hit the powerbomb to Dominik. The announcers were perplexed what was going on. I guess the idea was that Keith was not aware that it was Dominik there. He thought it was Damian Priest that was still there in the ring, I guess. So a little bit of dissension here between Keith Lee and Dominik Dijakovic. Looks like we're getting a triple threat if I had to make a guess as to what they'll do at NXT TakeOver. And that's, of course, if that pay-per-view even happens, which, I mean, based off of this show, they're moving along as if it's going to happen. But yeah, I could see Damian Priest and Dominik Dijakovic challenging Keith Lee in a triple threat for the title. We had Mia Yim versus Dakota Kai, who had Raquel Gonzalez in her corner. Raquel interfered when the referee wasn't looking. And then there was another point where Mia had the match won, and Raquel grabbed Mia's foot and pulled her out of the pinfall attempt. Then the interference ended up backfiring on Dakota Kai because she had the match won. However, the referee was busy talking to Raquel on the outside, and that's when Mia came in, took the advantage, and scored the pinfall victory over Dakota. Mia was immediately attacked after the match by Raquel and beat down. Mike B with a $5 super chat. Thank you for that, Mike B. I appreciate it. He says, Rambling Rabbit has a better chance of winning a title in WWE than EC3. Also, no DQ is the best, just saying, hashtag facts. I appreciate that very much. And Rambling Rabbit, it's too bad the Spider was killed by Drew McIntyre. I wanted to see the Spider versus Rambling Rabbit in a match at WrestleMania. Why not make that the kickoff match? You know, back in the day when WWE did those karate fighter tournaments back in like 95, 96, they could do something like that in a studio and have the Spider, like make one of those toy rings and do some kind of animation where you have the Spider wrestling Rambling Rabbit on the kickoff for WrestleMania. That would have been cool. I want to see something like that, but now that the Spider's dead, I guess you could do Rambling Rabbit versus Husky the Pig as the kickoff match. That would be fun. That would be something different. And how about this? My man, the Cleaver Colin Andrew, longtime supporter with a $20 super chat, very much appreciated. He says, shout out to No DQ, 13-year view. Thank you, Aaron, for all you do and for supporting the world of professional wrestling. It's a lifesaver. I'm hoping for a 2020 No DQ meetup in Ohio, NXT over AEW. There you go. Colin Andrew, Team NXT, and I'm hoping we can do a meetup, but with this whole coronavirus thing, who knows what's going to happen? The whole world's going mad at this point, so I don't know where things are going to stand with that. But if things settle down, I would definitely love to do a meetup before the year is over, and I think Ohio would be a great place to do it. So thanks again, Colin. Much appreciated. We had another teaser video for a new superstar, and it had the whole TikTok theme, which makes it look like it's going to be for Killer Kross, even though there's speculation about him being the Static Interruption on SmackDown. I would think they're two different people. So who knows? Who knows where Killer Kross is going? Maybe it's going to be NXT, maybe it'll be SmackDown, but that promo, to me, made it seem like it's going to be Killer Kross on NXT. Just the way I see it, and Colin Andrew agrees with that. Next up, we had the Marty McFly cosplayer Kushida versus Raul Mendoza. Kushida, of course, picked up the win. Well, I shouldn't say of course. I mean, I think they're pretty much on an equal level here. But Kushida did win with the armbar tap out. And then we had footage of Tommaso Ciampa arriving to the arena. And by the way, we had a pretty bizarre segment with Mendoza later on. Two guys in lucha masks attacked Raul backstage and abducted him. They threw him into their SUV and drove off. So I don't know what's up with that. Pretty bizarre storyline there with the abduction of Raul Mendoza. I guess we'll see where that goes. Did I say Shida and Kushida? Well, I'm getting confused now. Don't do that to me, guys. Unless I said it, then I have nobody to blame but myself. We had a promo with Tyler Breeze before the show, and Austin Theory got in his face and talked trash. Breeze responded by taking a picture of him and said, "Hey, Austin Theory, you look great for a flash in the pan." Guess we'll see Austin Theory versus Tyler Breeze. It's funny because it took me a minute to realize that it was Tyler Breeze. I had the volume on mute because AEW was on. I'm looking at the TV and I'm like, who is that? And I'm like, oh, it's Tyler Breeze. But man, like once he cut his hair, shaved his head, he looks so generic now. Like I seriously did not even recognize him at first. But I don't know. Whatever he wants to do, it's his call, I guess. But yeah, I honestly think the haircut just makes him not stand out at all. My own opinion on that. We had Rhea Ripley come out for a promo, and she said that Charlotte's going to need a bigger game plan for WrestleMania. Charlotte came out, talked about how she's going to beat Rhea at WrestleMania in front of 80,000 people. Didn't she say 90,000 on Raw? I could have sworn she said 90,000. Maybe she's taking into consideration the people that don't show up because of the coronavirus. Now it's 80,000. Maybe next week it's going to be 70,000. The coronavirus is just going to cause the attendance to decline every single week. Unless, of course, it gets outright canceled, which anything can happen at this point. But we had Charlotte get into the ring. The crowd was chanting, "Go back to Raw." And there was a brawl between the two of them. Charlotte got the upper hand, and she took Rhea to the outside, and she pulled a trick out of the Bret Hart playbook. She used the ring post for leverage and did the figure four to Rhea using the ring post, just like Bret did back in the day. Good angle here. I liked it. And Rhea was selling her knee as the officials came out to check on her. Good angle to set up WrestleMania. I liked it. Ken terminated by Google with a $2 super chat. Charlotte is no Bret Hart on the ring post. Well, I'm not sure if Charlotte is Bret Hart in any category, but yeah, I would agree on that. But hey, if you're gonna take a playbook from somebody, a page out of somebody's playbook, Bret Hart's the guy to go to. We had Tegan Nox defeat Deonna Purrazzo in a qualifying match for the upcoming ladder match at NXT TakeOver, and that match, of course, will determine the number one contender for Rhea Ripley's NXT Women's Championship. We had the Undisputed Era come out, and they basically wanted a piece of Velveteen Dream. Dream showed up on that platform area by the announce position, and he talked about how he doesn't care about Roderick Strong. He wants a piece of Adam Cole. Adam Cole responded by saying that the Dream has not earned anything. Dream lost last week to Roderick Strong, and Cole is moving on. Cole said next week he's having his big celebration because he will be the longest reigning NXT World Champion in history. Dream then introduced the Broserweights, and this led to a tag team match for the NXT Tag Team titles. And the Undisputed Era came close to picking up the titles on several occasions. You had Cole and Strong try to get involved, and Dunn and Riddle had a trick up their sleeve. They took a page out of Eddie Guerrero's playbook. Riddle threw Cole into the ring, and then Dunn acted like he got kicked in the face by Adam Cole. And Riddle told the referee that Cole did in fact kick Dunn, and the referee believed them. So as a result, we had Cole and Strong getting kicked out of the arena. Crowd chanted the goodbye song. Undisputed Era still managed to stay strong in this match. And then we had the grizzled young veterans come out. They got on the apron, and one of them shoved Matt Riddle, and Bobby Fish rolled up Riddle for a near fall. I thought this was going to be a title change here. This was a great near fall, in my opinion, with the veterans coming out and I thought for a split second we were going to see new tag team champions. But then Pete Dunne went after the veterans, and then Riddle managed to dump Fish to the outside of the ring. Broserweights did their double team finisher to O'Reilly and scored the pinfall victory to retain the tag team titles. Really good match here, and I like the Eddie Guerrero stuff, and I enjoyed it. Good shit, pal. Psycho Jet Black with the $2 super chat says, Adam Cole will become Michael Cole's nephew. We all keep joking about it, and it may very well happen one day. Let's just hope that Vince isn't watching this video, because we might be giving him a great idea as far as he's concerned. Ken Terminated by Google with a $5 super chat says, did you see Charlotte kind of botched on the figure 4 on the post? I think even Kurt Angle did the move better. Again, Charlotte is no Bret Hart. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't great, but to me, it was more about the angle and trying to do something different, and I was fine with it. I know it wasn't the best looking figure 4, but it is what it is. Thank you for the super chat, Ken. I do appreciate it. We had the final segment of the evening, which was Tommaso Ciampa coming out. He said he wants to know why Johnny did what he did. He said, time's up. It's time to explain what he did. Johnny Gargano appeared backstage in some conference room, and he said Ciampa knows nothing about him. However, he knows everything about Ciampa. And he said that people, the fans, need to admit that they are wrong about Ciampa. And Gargano said he has not forgotten about what Ciampa did to him, and what Ciampa did to the fans, and what Ciampa did to the NXT brand. And then he called Ciampa the worst person in NXT history. Ciampa was furious by this. He stormed to the backstage area. A huge brawl erupted in the conference room. They fought all over the building. They went into a gym and they started brawling by the machines. Gargano used some kind of can of spray paint or something, sprayed him with some kind of substance, and then he threw Ciampa through one of the doors there that had a glass panel, broken glass, all hell breaking loose. The fight continued, and they fought into the stands. Ciampa then knocked Gargano through one of the barricades, off the staging area, down to the floor, and then they started fighting by that platform that I mentioned earlier that's right by the announcer's desk. Gargano put the Gargano escape on. A referee tried to break up the carnage. Referee got punched out by Gargano. And then Ciampa took advantage of the situation, attacked Gargano, and then picked him up and drove him all the way down through the NXT announce table. Crowd going crazy for all this. Maybe the best ending of NXT since they've started on USA Network. This was a hell of an ending. Great brawl between these two. And I thought it was the best thing on either show. So to me, this segment topped anything on AEW Dynamite. Really great stuff here between these two. And I'm curious to see what happens with them at the TakeOver pay-per-view. But again, what's going to happen with NXT TakeOver and WrestleMania? Will there even be a TakeOver Tampa? The Game is on 100 with a $5 super chat says, with the Gargano and Ciampa brawl at the Performance Center, their match needs Hell in a Cell at TakeOver. Your thoughts on Bret Hart bashing Hulk Hogan again and Gronk signing? All right, I'll get to those in a minute here. What do you guys think as far as a letter grade goes? Again, I was more focused on AEW, but this was the first time in a while that I felt like I was more interested in seeing what was going on during NXT. Christopher Mace gives NXT a B+. The People's Wrestling Channel with a B+. Tic Tat Tat gives NXT an A-. Mike B gives NXT an A. And Kev Dog with a B+. Ked Terminated by Google is just happy to see Mike B in the chat room. And the game is on 100 with an A-. CC Drink with an A. Jeremy Dorset says a B for AEW and an A+ for NXT. How about that? I did like the show being in the Performance Center, and that's all the more reason why I hope, and again, the coronavirus might throw a monkey wrench in everything, but I really hope WWE will start having NXT on the road on a weekly basis. Even if it's in small venues, small intimate buildings. I just want to see NXT in a different environment. That's why AEW's been doing well, because every week it's a different environment. It's a different city, different crowd. And I shouldn't say that like it's the only reason, but to me it is a factor. NXT being in the same venue every single week, it gets a little tiresome after a while. We need a change of pace, a change of environment. But anyways, back to the Game is on 100's Super Chat. I agree about Hell in a Cell. I think WWE should do it. Hell in a Cell for TakeOver. To me, that's the match to settle a feud. And this is the perfect example of using that stipulation match to settle a score. And as far as what Bret Hart said, calling Hulk Hogan a phony piece of shit, I mean, it's unfortunate that Bret and Hulk haven't really buried the hatchet after all these years, and there's still some bad blood, at least from Bret's point of view. That's unfortunate, but hey, that's how Bret Hart feels, and I don't think anybody's going to change his mind at this point. And as far as Rob Gronkowski, however you pronounce his name, don't care. Not an NFL fan, not a football fan. Don't know anything about him. To me, it's just another random celebrity that WWE is going to try and make into a superstar, much like Tyson Fury or Cain Velasquez. I mean, I personally am indifferent to it. And after seeing him at the Andre Battle Royal, it's like, I mean, maybe he'll surprise everyone and be great, but if Cain Velasquez is any indication, not really getting my hopes up that it's going to amount to much. And Mike D with a $5 super chat says, I heard WWE is thinking about moving SmackDown to the Performance Center this Friday. I did see WrestleVotes, the Twitter account, mention that. That'll be very interesting if that happens. So, as you guys know, the coronavirus is becoming a bigger and bigger deal. Major events are being postponed. Coachella is postponed. The E3 was canceled, and they may end up doing a virtual E3 this year. The NBA is postponing their entire season. One of the players, I believe for the Utah Jazz, tested positive for coronavirus. Tom Hanks tested positive for the coronavirus. And now there's this concern that WrestleMania could potentially be postponed. As you guys know, Vince McMahon is a strong supporter of the idea that the show must go on. And I could see WWE wanting to do their positive spin, saying, we're not going to live in fear. These people want to have a good time, and we're going to move on. Safety is important, but we need to live our lives and not live in fear. I could see that being WWE's big spin on it. And they're going to go through with WrestleMania unless the government, the city of Tampa, Florida, they tell WWE no go. So tomorrow, Thursday, the 12th, there's going to be a meeting between the mayor of Tampa and government officials, and they are going to discuss the idea of canceling major events. Obviously, WrestleMania is pretty damn big. 80,000, 90,000, whatever WWE wants to claim. People from all over the country. And then on top of that, you have Donald Trump announcing that there is a travel ban for anybody from Europe, except for the United Kingdom, entering the United States. That is a pretty significant blow to people that live in France, Germany, any European country other than the United Kingdom. Any of those people that bought tickets to WrestleMania, they're basically screwed now. It's going to be a very interesting couple of days here, and I do encourage you guys to stay tuned to NoDQ.com. I do my best to try and give you guys the most accurate information regarding what's going on with the coronavirus, and I'm definitely one of those people that I don't want people to feel panicked about the coronavirus, but it is something that people are not taking chances on. There's still a lot of things that science doesn't know about this. They're still trying to figure it out. And people are taking the attitude, better to be safe than sorry. But if WrestleMania gets postponed, that is going to be a very significant blow to the wrestling industry, because it's not just WWE, and they got 5 shows planned: NXT, Raw, SmackDown, Hall of Fame, WrestleMania. Not just that, but all of the indie shows that are going to be happening during WrestleMania weekend. All of those will be affected as well. There will be a ripple effect. It's going to be very costly for a lot of people. But at the end of the day, human lives are more important than money. So we'll see what happens. The question is it something that is necessary? So that's what they're deciding. Very difficult decision, and it's definitely something that needs to be taken seriously, and people are going to have a tough time figuring out what to do with this, because the situation is changing on a daily basis. So what do you do? WrestleMania is coming up 25 days away. What do you do? Do you wait it out? I mean, people got to know. People have to make plans, and it's a mess. It's definitely a complicated situation. Psycho Jet Black with a $2 super chat says, what is your favorite Jeff Jarrett WCW match? Probably that 3-tier cage match from Slamboree with DDP, which I thought was a pretty good match. I mean, the storyline was ridiculous, of course, and David Arquette, that whole involvement. But I liked the match, and I did like David Arquette being a heel and joining up with the New Blood. So I thought that match was pretty decent. And then Canyon taking that bump, although a lot of people did not like that because it was in Kansas City, where Owen Hart had passed away, in the same arena almost a year to the day that he passed away. People thought that was in really bad taste for Canyon to take that bump like that, and the announcers acting like he was killed. And People's Wrestling Channel, what's E3? E3 is what is it? Something Entertainment Expo video game convention. Pretty big deal. Ken Terminated by Google with a $5 super chat says, Rift, I love Bret Hart, but I wish he let his heat go with Hulk Hogan. He's like Randy Savage or Ultimate Warrior. Bret seems to act a little bitter, and I'm not even a Hogan fan. Again, you would have to talk to Bret Hart. Who knows what's going through his mind, but for whatever reason, I guess he just feels that Hogan was never sincere with him. Maybe they did bury the hatchet and Bret just didn't believe him, because Bret seemed to let things go with Shawn and other people, but Hogan, guess he still holds a grudge against him for whatever reason. Mike D with a $2 super chat says, I have a feeling WrestleMania will get canceled. Oh, and Demon of Death 19 says Electronic Entertainment as Expo. So I just missed the first part of it. Yeah, WrestleMania, I mean, I think it could go either way. Like, I know WWE is going to do everything in their power to make it happen. You know Vince's mentality. It's going to take the government saying this cannot happen, and that's going to be the final decision. I mean, ultimately, it's out of Vince's hands, but I'm sure WWE is going to push for it to happen. I mean, it could be in these other scenarios, like with Coachella, maybe the people running it, they have the attitude, if people are sick and there's a risk of people being sick, let's just postpone it and we'll eat the cost. But Vince is very hell-bent on going through with things. I mean, we talked about Owen Hart a few moments ago. Owen Hart died on a pay-per-view, and Vince made the call for the show to go on. So I really do think if it was Vince's say, WrestleMania is happening. I don't know what it would take for Vince to change his mind, but my opinion would be that as of this moment, Vince probably feels that this is being blown out of proportion and everyone will be fine. And if everyone just takes the precautions, things will be okay. Mike D with a $5 super chat says, if WrestleMania does get canceled, do they reschedule it later this year? That is a great question, and this is just something totally unprecedented. I don't know. I don't know what WWE does. It's so weird. Do you like try to spread out WrestleMania over several shows and say, this week we're going to do Drew McIntyre versus Brock Lesnar as a WrestleMania match on Raw? Or I don't know. Are they going to try to do a pay-per-view inside a regular arena? Are they going to refund everybody and sell tickets to an indoor arena where there's a smaller crowd? But the thing is, an outdoor stadium, I would think you're less likely to get sick from somebody. With an indoor arena, I would think there would be a greater chance. And all these indoor arena events are being canceled as well. So I don't know what they're going to do. This is going to be a very interesting story to see how this plays out over the next several weeks. And Psycho Jet Black with a $2 super chat says, WrestleMania should be held at the Performance Center. Again, I don't know what they're going to do. It's just unprecedented. We've never had something like this happen before where WrestleMania was in jeopardy of being canceled because of a virus being spread around. So yeah, very interesting day here, and tomorrow could be a very interesting day as well. So make sure you guys stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please spread the word, tell a friend, share this video on social media, and I will see you guys tomorrow night for the No DQ review. Take care, everyone. See you next time.